I'm obviously drawn to beats, and I think there will always be beats on my records. You know, if you want to call it house, you can call it house. I mean, I try not to get too much into genres, you know, because it kind of limits, it like presupposes the listening, you know, to me. When I was doing Leland, it was going to be an Adult Napper album for a label I was working with at the time, and then my father passed away, and it just became sort of transformed into this requiem, basically. My whole process of making it and how I made it and the instruments that I wanted to use just didn't sound, you know, it just wasn't as electronic as Adult Napper. It was a lot more organic. Leland was a very personal album. This is very personal, but I think that it's explicated and executed in a way that is almost less personal in a way. It's sort of difficult. One of the comments I get from even my friends I give it to, they have to listen to it 2 or 3 times before they really catch on to, you know, how it is. And it really is, it's different from Leland in the fact that I feel like I can pick a song off of Leland and just listen to it on its own. And I think, with the exception of maybe the single on this LP, the songs are very contextual together. Dealing with the grief of losing my mother, I think the album is not necessarily expressing the sadness, but more about the difficulty that I have dealing with my own feelings. I guess I could call it more mature, but not really. It's not the intention of being more mature. I think it's just maybe a different approach. Sound bed of the entire album, Minutes of Sleep, are all found recordings that I was recording even with my phone when my mom was sick, and just the environment. So there's like hours and hours and hours of found recordings that are kind of integrated somehow into the album. It's sort of like the space that the album's in. Collect as many books as I do records, and used to be a writer, I suppose. I mean, I do some freelance writing on the side to pay the bills, because as everybody in New York, you have to work like 10 jobs, you know, to get by living in the city. I would like to think that I would get back to writing at some point in my life seriously. You know, I'm sort of a believer sort of in the Henry Miller school that you write when you have to write. And I haven't felt the need. My form of expression has been almost solely through music the last 10 years. But I do see myself sometimes putting pen to paper recently, so we'll see. I'm a big fan of listening through albums. You know, I think it's almost like a lost art, listening through albums, because people are so impatient. It's always about skipping through and, you know, having an impression. People aren't even patient enough to listen through an entire song without commenting on it. It's like they're more interested in voicing their opinion, their like or dislike for something, than they are to actually listen and see how, you know, their own perspective, you know, comes through in listening to an album.